Well, here we are. Week 4 of Crescendo is officially passed, and tonight we take a look at 4 hot topics in the community as a whole. We'll break down current game meta from Week 4, a discussion related to amp failure seen across the world, auto agreements with Alliance members, and ways that your team could level up. All of this and more coming up on this edition of FRC Roundup.
This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you and also in partnership with the following. AndyMark is your one-stop shop for all your robotics competition needs. Celebrating 20 years of quality robotics parts and superior service, AndyMark employees have over 200 years of first-team experience. From mechanical and electrical products to tools and hardware, head on over to andymark.com for high-quality and affordable solutions. Support Fun's content creators when you sign up for a membership on YouTube Join. You'll get access to special perks like emotes, loyalty badges, and Fun members will even get early access to our scheduled videos and more. 100% of this revenue will go back to our correspondents to help recognize their efforts. Click the Join button in any YouTube video to pledge your support.
All right, welcome to the show. If you have not caught our show previously, FRC Roundup is where we take a look at important topics currently happening in FRC, highlight some discussion points about events that may have happened, strategy, or anything that correlates with FRC. If you, the Fun community, think that there is a topic that we should discuss on FRC Roundup, please feel free to ping me on the Fun Discord, and I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Mathis, and I am currently in the 1st in Michigan region and a mentor on Team 33.
And I'm Connor McBride, mentor for Team 166 Chop Shop and an MC and game announcer in the New England District. Our guest tonight is Brandon Holley, or as a lot of you know him as, Brando. Brando is a mentor and drive coach on 125 NUTRONs, fresh off their number 1 seed Alliance Captain win at Greater Boston, and already rocking not 1, not 2, but 3 blue banners and a double gold Kling Bling at BSU, winning the event and first impact. And as well, last year's world finalists. Brando, welcome back to the show and congrats for 125 on an incredible season so far.
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me back on the show, and definitely appreciate the kind words for the team. It's been a really good season for us thus far, but I mean, you guys know this, and I think all the teams and people watching know this too. I mean, it really is just the hard work of the kids and the rest of the mentors on 125 really stepped it up, and definitely after last year's run at Worlds, we've been able to really unlock a lot more potential in our team, and we're still pretty heads down. We've got a lot more season left and a lot more stuff we want to get done. So, but really happy with the results thus far.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure we'll dive into some of your matches moving forward here. But we did talk offline. Brando's officially the most frequent flyer here on FRC Roundup on our guest. So thanks again for joining. But yeah, we'll go ahead and jump right into topic 1. And it's been the same topic we've had for each week, and we're going to continue to have. And it's going to be a look at the Crescendo meta and game strategy breakdowns from the previous week. Again, obviously we're moving into, next week, getting into a lot of the DCMPs and those final events and moving forward into the championship. We're continuing to see Crescendo evolve throughout from where it was week 1 to where we see things now. And I have selected a match we're going to review from CVR, and then Brando's got one that we're going to look in that 125 was part of at Greater Boston, and look into, 2 very distinct ways the game's being played. So moving forward, the match that I'm going to be taking a look at tonight is going to be the 13-23 match in the playoffs with Bread. One of the things that I think is really important to take a look at this from what I have seen is this is really a match where the Alliance really executes the cycling with a mix of a little bit of passing well. I think 13-23 and Brett are definitely 2 of the most strong robots that we're seeing in the nation currently. And I think they do an interesting job of where it happens. Right out of autonomous, we see that Brett and 13-23 have very unique autonomous modes. I think that one of the cool things that 13-23 has is they start in the middle of the subwoofer, so it allows them to have a specific path that also enables their alliance partners to have those specific autonomouses. So I thought that was unique. And then one thing that we see here moving forward is obviously, Bread and Madtown are very specific off cycle. They're utilizing that cycle game. Their 3rd position robot is stationed on the opponent's subwoofer. So it's allowing them to really free up their side of the field and get that flow proper. One of the cool things that is going to happen right here is actually, as you see 13-23 really utilizing that cycling strategy. And then they throw one piece over to that amp position after Bread scores one to get them to that amplified period. I think that was unique because it's mixing the off-cycle robots while also utilizing that passing strategy that we're seeing in various topics throughout the events across the world. So again, mainly focusing on that cycling strategy, but noticed that when they had to throw that one piece across, that they utilized that. I think from competing this weekend with 33 and moving forward, at least from what I saw from the matches that I saw, there wasn't a ton of passing that was happening. It was still happening, but a lot of people are just coming back to the bread and butter of cycling. And I think we're going to see that evolve throughout the couple weeks. I know Connor and Brando, you're actually competing. Connor was emceeing an event. But how that exactly looked, I think, is going to evolve as we get to DCMP. I really think passing is going to be imperative when the robot that is playing cleanup is as fast as the passing. We're seeing a lot of either there's a herd that's ended up happening in the passing strategy where the passer has to come back and help them clean up, or the cleanup robot is too fast for the passing that's coming. So I think having those two top robots is going to really be imperative moving forward to really have that strategy be viable. But Connor, I know you were an MC this weekend, got to see some stuff. I don't know what was happening at the event you saw, but I really wanted to highlight what we saw with the combination of a little bit of passing with this match, but really two robots that did a very good job of getting off cycle from each other and really making sure that flow is important.
Yeah, for sure. No, I see a lot of that as well. And to be honest, like I think, yeah, like you mentioned for the robot playing cleanup at their subwoofer, just making like very quick, no acquisition, grabbing and shooting. But that robot that also is cycling has to be on point as well. Because more times than not, what I've seen at events is that robot who's cycling is usually like under constant defense. So having to get around that robot and be able to get to that center part of the field and shoot the note over the stage to be able to continuously feed that robot playing cleanup is super imperative. Because if they run out of notes, now they're kind of getting forced to having to run full court cycles coming back and forth. And eventually at some point, like it dries out. And that's typically once like 2 notes are scored into the amp, and then that robot that's playing the cleanup will go back and cycle, and then you'll have 1, 2, maybe 3 amplified notes, and then you just repeat the process until end game. But yeah, it all across the board, everyone needs to be on point.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's important to, what this is going to develop into. Like I said, I know there were some thoughts in chat. Passing's overrated. I don't know that it's entirely overrated yet. I think we haven't seen the game develop to where it can be super useful, in my opinion, at least. But maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll see what happens. Brando, I know you competed this weekend. We're going to take a deep dive in one of your final matches next year. But just general consensus on what you thought from what you saw this weekend. And then obviously we'll dive into that match, moving forward. But
Yeah,
yes, I guess. Do you think passing's overrated?
a little bit actually.
Okay.
But I actually think like one of the coolest aspects of this game thus far is that it's so not obvious what, like, if it is overrated or not, and you can see what's working with some alliances around the world, and then other alliances try to duplicate a similar strategy and not be able to pull it off for one reason or the other. But I think passing is definitely a part of this game. What I think I'm seeing, and especially coming out of week 4, with the caveat being I didn't get a chance to kind of really sit back and watch a broad cross section of events, but I did catch up on quite a few events last night after our event, and I do think you see a little bit of kind of the detailed meta forming in the passing game and how those pull it off. I don't know if it's always going to be exclusively just a front court bot and a passing bot. I don't know that it's exclusively going to be, okay, let's get 4 or 5 notes passed and then move down and score them all. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues. And I think we'll see, even at champs, division winners playing different strategies and make it out of their divisions.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, you kind of bring up a good point. And we could even get to Einstein. We can see multiple like flavors of strategy here, because this game is very similar to Ultimate Ascent, and we saw that on Einstein that year, where you'd see, like, I think it was like the Code Orange and Lightning alliance. They always had a robot playing defense, and then like the 15-19-33 alliance, 15-19 playing full court shots, and then you had the world championship of Texas, Torque, Coyotes, and Theory 6, all 3 of them just playing cycling. So I think it's really just kind of boiled down to, I think, who executes it better.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And like Brando kind of led into it too. I don't know that it's strictly going to be if the passing game evolves to where I think it might. I don't think it's ever going to be you're the passer and you're the scorer. I think there's going to be a lot of flow adjustment in between that, and that's when it gets really complicated, right? You're going to get to a point where there's going to have to be so much communication. From what I've seen, this game is already super hard to drive coach for, and on top of that, adding in that to communicate that flow and know when to switch and know when not to switch, and then communicating with your third if they're amping. Like, there's so many variables to this game, and I think it's going to be really cool to see it develop. It's just a matter of, can it actually develop to that point? So, all right, well, moving forward, we're going to jump into Finals 1 over at Greater Boston, which Brando's team obviously won that event. So we're going to go ahead and throw it to Brando. We're going to talk a little bit about that strategy and how they got to their win this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation we just had is pretty apt because leading into this match, we had, or not leading into this match, but in round 4, we had lost to this alliance already. And Alliance 6 here, they were a powerhouse alliance, triple offense. They used a ton of passing, some great scouting and selection on Alliance 6 that allowed them to do their thing. And we had been playing a game where both us and Wyndham were flexing both passing and amping and speaker scoring while having 24-23 help us in the front court. And it became, like Nick, you were just saying before, it became really hard to manage that. So what you can see in Final 1 here is we really switched our strategy out. And Tyler, if you go and look at the 2-minute mark is really where things, I think, kind of pick up. We had 24-23 here in the middle. The number one goal for them was to disrupt the feeding strategy early and try to get us to a place where we could be one amplified cycle ahead of them. Going into elims, our goal as an alliance was to only score in the speaker when it was amplified. And so that became, a really one of the core tenets of strategy, trying to keep things simple so that everyone knows what to do with kind of fundamental rules there. And then part of that was having 24-23 opportunistically grab rings and then wait, for when us and Wyndham were ready to load up into the speaker. And it was us and Wyndham's responsibility to load the amp. So you'll see, us and Wyndham switching off and multiple times amping back to back, then both disappearing, grabbing notes, bringing them back, hitting the speaker, and then waiting for 24-23 to get the third one in, and then hoping that one of us or Wyndham can complete the under 10-second cycle to get back and get the fourth note in the amplified window. So yeah, you see that strategy in this match really come to life. This Red Alliance of Alliance 6 had really been buzzsawing their way through playoffs. They'd averaged like 119 points getting into finals. And they had beaten quite a few really, really strong alliances. And so, we made our way through there. This was a big shift in our strategy for Finals 1. And, at the end, it got pretty chaotic. You'll see here as we get down to, the last 30 seconds, there's a few things that happen. Right here, 24-23 ended up with a note stuck in them. So they're continuing to disrupt and play this hybrid D opportunistic, note stealing role. And then at 15 seconds here, basically offsetting G424s, our driver made a mistake, hit a red robot in their stage, just as Apple Pie did the same mistake and hit I think Wyndham here on our side. Yep, right there. And so we had offsetting G424s. And then in the last 10 seconds there, we always left it an option for 125, whether to take the last shot into the speaker or into the trap based on what was going on with the amplification. And, you see in the last second there, we decided trap. But overall, a lot of strategy work by the entire alliance on our side. We had called in a backup, so we had 4 teams all contributing to the strategy there. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. It goes into kind of the overall discussion we were just having around passing and how to optimize. And at the end of the day, I think the strategy is really, as always, going to have to fit the alliance and what the robots are capable of. And it took us a few attempts, but we ended up getting to to a good place with it.
Yeah, 132 clean is pretty impressive. That's one of the higher scores we've seen, obviously. But, one just a follow-up question. You mentioned that, as we watched that, you and Wyndham did a lot of switching in that. How did you communicate that between, you and Wyndham, and when was a good time to switch? When was not a good time to switch from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was really establishing kind of that core structure of when you using the amp light, which I know we have a whole nother topic we want to get into about the amp itself, but
Yep.
using the amp light and understanding, in that moment exactly as you're bringing a note back across the field where it needs to be. And then the drive coaches staying in sync and making sure that everyone is very aware of what the state of the amp is and what the state of being amplified is, so that everyone can make a call in that moment.
Mhm.
It takes
Sure.
a lot of coordination, between the drive
Yeah.
coaches, like you said.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for that insight, Brando. I appreciate that. All right. Well, before we go and jump into our next topic, we'll go ahead and bring Tyler on to introduce our first giveaway of the night.
Yeah, our first giveaway of this evening is going to be from our friends at FRC 1720, which is also going to be your keyword, which is 1720 for the awesome Bat Hawks. Once again, these are devices that you can plug right into batteries to give you that instant voltage for it. Designed and manufactured in East Central Indiana. This is essentially something that I think every team really needs. You can have it plugged in. It can stay in for a really long time, or you can just plug it in when you need it. So really cool. Doesn't have any major drain to your battery or anything like that. So type in 1720 for a pair of those. You can also pick them up on AndyMark as well, too, if you're interested in actually buying a few of them. But otherwise, we're giving away a pair of those as well, too. So thanks again to 1720, and we'll draw for that giveaway after our next topic is done.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Tyler. All right. Well, like I said, jumping into topic 2, as Brando alluded to, the amp and its failures, and how do we move forward? This is a definitely an interesting topic that started to gain some traction on a Chief Delphi inspired by the post that was released. I think it was 4 or 5 days ago. And it's titled "The Amp is Broken: A Complete Failure by First," and the OP goes into breakdown various match videos that was seen at Ontario Humber, and how it affected specific matches, and how it's affecting teams' experiences at events. I know from my perspective on 33, we've had some issues with the amp. In general, we saw it a lot week 1. We actually had a match replay that was caused because of it, because the amp stopped counting, and we tried to use the amplification. It physically just would not work. And obviously, one of the biggest parts of this game is utilizing amplification, like being able to properly and at good times, utilize that bonus point to, overall increase the score of that match. And across the world, we're seeing notes getting stuck in the amp. A lot of teams kicking the amp to get the note to fall through to be able to be counted in an efficient manner. Like as you can see on your screen right now, a short that Tyler's got up, where the note is broken inside of the amp and it's blocking the shoot from being able to be scored. I think the overall design is pretty poor in my opinion. I was pretty disappointed week 1 to see how it was actually mounted to the field border and the overall construction of it. The amp is an item like last year of the loading station, where teams are slamming into constantly, as they should be able to, in my opinion, and the field's just not holding up to it. I think overall, I thought the speaker count in general has been okay throughout the year. We haven't seen too many issues with it, but the amp has been an utter failure, in my opinion, from a construction and scoring standpoint. So, Brandon, did you guys have any issues with the amp this weekend, or your first competition?
So yeah, we did. This past weekend, we had one specific match where we had to put more notes into the amp to get the thing to amplify, and I think it is like it's really unfortunate. It's part of what you have to coach for. It's part of what the team has to look out for. And I know that there's kind of been two schools of thought of like how to handle this like mid
Mhm.
match, and one set of people have been basically playing it as if it were functional and hitting the button and trying to make it obvious in a sense that maybe we
Yep.
could go back and like look at how the match happened and like try to recount it if it came to that. Um, but we've been playing it, just keep putting notes in it until it amplifies. And I don't think either way is kind of broken, to the OP's point there. Um, we did see issues, pretty bad issues at our week 2 event with the speaker in
Okay,
counting.
interesting.
It uses, from what I can tell with my eyes, it looks like they're using the same beam break sensors in both.
Yep.
But yeah, our week 2 event finished extremely late because the speaker wasn't counting properly. Um, it is unfortunate. I mean, I'm sure First is looking at it and working on it. But it is definitely something that makes this particular game really, really hard to execute. And and if teams, you can't go back and just count notes,
Right.
which is, I think, what's happening now, just to try to rectify if there was a missed note at all, to even kind of flag whether a replay should be warranted. But it also seems that because of the quantity of mishap that's happening here, that the replay is only being granted if the score was close, which it's hard to make the score close if the amp doesn't work. So
Right.
it is
Exactly.
it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I think, what, like you said, one of the interesting things too is like, look back to 2022 when we saw similar issues where balls weren't being counted. And in that scenario, you can get away with manual counting because there wasn't this like bonus period that we had with this year where, like, this year you can count notes to verify that the same amount of notes were counted, but in terms of like adjusting the score, like unless you're sitting there with a stopwatch, like it's extremely difficult to actually account for that. So,
1570.
Connor, I know you've been at a lot of events, this past year. Have you seen any issues with the amp or with your team or volunteering?
Yeah, so I know one of our matches at Pine Tree was Qual Match 11. There's no video of this because the match ended up getting replayed. But one of our partners just absolutely slammed right into our amp. The whole thing lit up like a Christmas tree, and then all the lights just flickered out. And we're like, "That's not right." They foghorn the match within a few seconds, and like, "Yeah, we're gonna replay this tomorrow morning." But that's the only thing that I've really ever had an issue with the amp that's personally affected myself, or 166.
Mhm.
I know this weekend I was watching one of the matches at Western New England, and I watched a note get scored, and the amplification stack light did not change at all, and the field staff caught it as well. And I think they added like one additional point at the end of the score. It didn't make a difference. I think it was, I don't know what the score was, but like I know for a fact it wasn't close. And then one of the biggest consistent things, as Tyler showed a small short with the with notes getting stuck in the inside the amp. I've seen that happen numerous times. A lot of it happened at Granite State in week 1. Where you just have multiple notes stuck in there, and then you basically just rendered it useless. The hardest part is seeing that happen in a playoff match, because it's
Mhm.
just I've seen that happen a couple times in a lower bracket match, and you see it and you're like, "Yep, you're done. That's it."
Yeah, which is like, it's super frustrating because like like in this specific short, like what are you supposed to do? Like you can't put your hand in the chute. Like you are literally stuck outside of absolutely just like kicking the amp, which they definitely don't want us doing, I'm
No.
assuming. Like you are left with no option to try and resolve that. So I'll be curious to see if they change anything. I'm sure it's on their radar. But I know, like, we said it in 22, but like matches are going to be won and lost at the championship because issues with the amp. So
Yeah,
I,
and
hope. Go ahead, Brando.
yeah, the tribal knowledge too is like starting to form as well. Like our human player, is like kind of like rhythm beating on the back of the polycarbonate to get the note to like drop cleanly through the
Hmm.
beam break. And I know other teams have issues with like that little lip that can form on the
Yep.
inside with that piece of plastic there. So some teams have to kind of like push the back of that polycarb to make that lip go away. So like you already see kind of these tricks forming, but the every amp is different, and so it's going to be interesting to see how
Mhm.
that affects things. Hopefully, at least for the district champs and champs, there can be some consistency there, and it doesn't become a factor.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's something that 166 has done a lot in practice, is just practice cycling the amp for hours. So like we're pretty graceful with rotating our robot, and arm comes up and we just slide right into place, pop it down, and just get the hell out of there and get the next one. So we're treating it like it's, what is it, like your grandma on the back seat of a car with like a bowl of soup or something like whatever the analogy is. Like we're just trying to be as careful as possible, because
Sure.
we don't want to get screwed.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Makes sense, man.
We'd like to thank AndyMark and AndyMark.com for their continued support of fun content. AndyMark.com is your one-stop shop for all your competition robotics needs. Featuring over 200 years of combined experience, AndyMark has now been in business for 20 years, servicing first teams and beyond. From electrical and mechanical, anything you may need, go to AndyMark.com to see how they can help your team and to get some of the best quality parts and the superior service that your team deserves.
Okay, thank you, Anywar. All right, well, before we go ahead and jump in, we're going to jump to topic 3, which is going to be led by my co-host, Connor.
Yeah, so topic 3, we're going to be talking about the auto agreements with Alliance members prior to the match start. So this stems from a CD thread by Jay Thorne. CD thread is called Greedy Autos. So basically what they're talking about, they're very happy about the robot that they built for this season, and they're going into their matches, their pre-match strategies with their Alliance partners, and their partners are essentially saying, hey, our autos are, our auto picks up more game pieces, scores more than what your best autos are doing. Like, we want to put you guys off to the side so we can maximize our score, essentially. There is one part in here what I'm not entirely okay with, because at the very end of it, he says that it's in practice matches. Practice matches, that should be for everyone to be able to do whatever they please. I know that this person is from a district, so at least on load-in night, most events just have a filler queue. So if you're getting placed onto the field, at least during a practice match, and you're going to be paired up with some other teams that, like, hey, your autos aren't going to align with each other, maybe you might be able to just let someone else in the line be like, hey, you can take my spot so you can be first on the field for the next one. And that kind of allows you to be able to dictate stuff. However, when it comes time to, a qualification match, or even when playoffs, you're getting picked for like 1,000% for a specific role. At the end of the day, this is a competition, and a lot of teams are really gunning for that district championship, or the best way possible to get themselves to Houston. So I feel for the OP, because my team has been in that situation for 29 years. And now in our 30th season, we have autos that are pretty solid. We have a solid 4-piece auto. We have some side autos going to the center line that are really starting to get honed in. So I totally get and sympathize what's with the OP of this thread, that getting kind of pushed to the side and be like, hey, you're only going to score one game piece and not move, or just you're going to line up so far away from the speaker that you're just going to sit there and not do anything. We just can't risk getting knocked around. I get it. It sucks. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of teams really just, they want to do what's best for the Alliance.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead, Brando.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, when we strategize and we think about autos, so I mean, I guess I have to like, we have a 6-piece auto that works really well, and is quite reliable. So like, we would definitely fall in this category of being a problem, and we are a problem for a lot of teams, because we can't just each take a spot and then take a note and just do the auto that we have. But like, when we form that strategy, that's not the only auto we have. And the basis for any discussion we have, and we hope the one that carries the most water, is how can we leave auto with the most amount of notes in the goal, period. It doesn't matter, right? And even if you, like, so let's say we're starting at the very beginning of the event, like, people haven't had a chance to run all the data through yet. If we take people at what they say they can do, use pre-scouting to what we can, we should be able to find something that says, and come to an agreement that says, this is how we can score the most amount of points as an alliance. And I read through that thread earlier this afternoon, and there was just something missing for me in that kind of like presumption that, because I have a 2-piece auto, I should be able to run it because one of those notes is mine. And it's like ignoring the fact that you're not actually trying to maximize the overall alliance's notes. So it actually, to me, felt like a greedy take, even though the post was about these autos being greedy by using more notes. But I am super biased. But we approach every one of our discussions with our partners with total openness and open-mindedness around how we do that. And if we're running with Connor and he's got his 4-piece nailing in the front, we will be ecstatic to run a humble 3-piece auto from the side to make sure that we end up with more notes overall in the in the goal at the end of auto. So
Yeah, I think
that's
you
just
hit it
how I
like
felt about that.
I think you hit it right on the nail with just the notion of how do we, as an alliance, maximize the total notes going into the goal. I know, obviously, I get where the OP is coming from in the sense of, sometimes it is you get paired with like two elite teams or something like that, and they have very complex autos, and you feel kind of left out. But ultimately, they are, coming from those elite teams, they're creating those autos to help the alliance maximize the amount of points that they can get in the goal because they have the ability to do that. And I think that that's important to note is that the teams are putting in the work to ensure that overall that the alliance can be better to ensure if it's like if one team is really advanced in programming and another team might have a great mechanical raw, but might lack a little bit in programming, you can make up the slack and still be there for the alliance as a whole. And I think that's important to note as well. But I think you said, Brando, too, as well, is we have the fortunate ability to be able to after about halfway through the first day get some data points on where exactly teams are, what are they successful at. Like you said, if Connor's hitting a 4-piece and I have a 5 from the side, but I know my 3 works too, and it allows Connor to run his 4 instead of Connor only running 1, then that's what we're going to run with, right? That's like, for example, 33's 5-piece on red specifically, not blue, but on red specifically was great all weekend. And when we got to the elimination rounds, it was either 33 runs our 5-piece red, and our other 2 alliance members only score 1 piece in autonomous for a total of 7. Or we have the captain run their 4-piece, and then we run our 3-side or 4 source side that is not super accurate, but it'll at least get 2 or 3. So at a minimum, we're at least matching what we would have gotten in that match. So I think that's important to note. Overall, we wanted to maximize what we could do for an alliance as a whole. Unfortunately, the match on screen, I think, misses a couple or makes at least one of them. But yeah, there's the brick right there. But in general, we wanted to make sure we could do to maximize the alliance's potential as a whole. So I think that's important to note.
Yeah.
Connor, any last thoughts before we go ahead and move on?
Yeah, so just kind of like going back to like my team when we were at Pine Tree, we paired up with 4564 Orange Chaos at Pine Tree, and they had a much more consistent 4-piece auto than we did. But at the time, our 4-piece auto was the best auto we had, and after that, it was a score our preload and then leave. And we had like a 2.5-piece from the side, but it was very, very, very iffy. Orange Chaos had a very consistent 2-piece from the side, shoot the preload, grab 1 from the center line. So like we purposely ran the 166 4-piece in the Orange Chaos side auto, because even though that it probably would have been a lot safer to run Orange Chaos doing the 4 and us just doing a 1, the ceiling is what really tempted us to run that strategy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, before we go ahead and jump into our final topic of the night, we'll go ahead and bring Tyler back on to introduce our second giveaway of the night from our friends at the ThriftyBot.
That's right. Our friends at ThriftyBot are back once again with another $50 gift card to thethriftyBot.com. So you can get a lot of cool stuff for that. Talking to Ryan, they have been doing so many cool things this year, especially with those the new wheels that they've been pushing as well too. A lot of great stuff you can get with that $50 gift card. So go ahead to thethriftyBot.com, see what they have, and type in "very thrifty" right now is your keyword in order to win. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is absolutely free, you get 3 times luck to win, and we'll draw for that after our last topic is over.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler, and thanks again, Ryan and our friends at the ThriftyBot. Similar to topic 3, I'm going to go ahead and hand it to Connor to introduce our last topic of the night.
Yeah, so topic number 4, we are in the back half of the 2024 competition season, believe it or not. So a lot of areas are starting to get, their final events for their district championships. A lot of teams are starting to gear up for Houston. And all those teams are really just trying to figure out, how do I maximize my performance on the field? So that's one of the things that we're going to try and we're going to talk about here is, how do I take my team to the next level? Whether if I'm going to the Houston Championship or District Champs, or even if you're not moving on to any of those 2 events and you're planning to go to some off-season events, how can I make myself better to have a better experience in the off-season and potentially train up some rookies on your team with a better computing robot? So Brando, I'm going to hand this one over to you. I know you always have a pretty good repertoire of knowledge on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with like a little background. Like, so this is I think it's my 19th season on 125. So when I joined 125, like we weren't um, very good. We weren't good at all, and so for 19 years, I've been able, and I guess um, my experience is obviously very single track and it's only my team. But from that, I've been able to see us really grow and evolve. And the simplest way I can say this is that you have to really like take in what's around you at each level and like really take that like staircase up the chain. I mean, every single time we've accomplished a really strong goal of ours, whether it be getting to a district championship, winning district championship. Yeah, here's a great video of us being awful. Thanks, Tyler. Um, uh, we, every time we've kind of gotten to another level, we're working with teams that we look up to, that I've personally learned a lot from, and we learned something else. And even last year, getting out of Daly, making it to the Einstein finals, we're playing an incredible alliance on the other side. One of my best friends in RC, drive coach on the other side, and even in that moment, I can see how 1323 is handling that moment versus us. And we were prepared, we were ready to be there, but 1323 had their game faces on, and they were, it was on. They were going to, walk out of there with that championship, by any means necessary, within gracious professionalism and all that. But uh, but I learned a lot from that, even getting to the last match of the season and still taking that in with them. So I think, for me, a big part of it is understanding that it does take a staircase. You have to work your way, up there, and that is all part of the process. So enjoy it, and definitely like take stuff in as it's happening, because even as you're having success and you're starting to accomplish your goals, you're going to still be learning new things along the way, and there's some things that you won't even be able to learn until you get to that next level. So you can't do it all at once. And that, I think that's a big thing. And this is coming from someone that spent 19 years trying to build our team up into someone that can be, competitive. But that's just how I've kind of handled things with us.
Yeah, I think that brings up a unique point too. One of the things that, obviously I was on a lesser known team and then obviously transitioned to 33. So I've been on two teams now, but one of the things that, I really tried to instill in when I was on 4130 was, really building within your means, but then during the off season, progressively increase your means that you can build within, right? I think that's one of the things that you as your own team can really look forward to, being self-aware of your machining time, what kind of accessibility you have to outside sponsors that might be able to help you, and then building within that. But then, don't be satisfied with those means that you have after the season's over. Continue to build on those specific means. Maybe it's getting another 3D printer. Maybe it's getting an Omeo to allow you to do machining in house instead of having to send that stuff out. Maybe that's looking into, various aspects of, looking into open alliance. How can we build on people's designs and then change it into our own designs and move forward with that? So that's one of the things that I've always strived behind, and still, even with 33, making sure that we can build within our means and not overstretching on something. Like, for example, like we talked about, maybe like very similar, maybe doing a turret this year, and we don't have the means to do it. So we built the most competitive robot that we could without having a turret, that we thought, at least from that standpoint. So Connor, I know you're on 166. You're super involved with the design of the robot and whatnot. What does 166 accomplish to, continue to build on to be, up to that upper echelon of teams?
Yeah, so we a new few things this year. Like, we completely changed our design philosophy, and one of the things in a prior roundup show where we had RC on, I know, well, one of the questions that I asked him was like, "How do you guys just get your robot done so quickly?" And he was like,
Mhm.
"You just have to do it." It took me the longest time to understand what that is, and it's literally just by all means necessary. You just got to push, 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 and it sucks those first few weeks of build season. But oh my god, do we produce something even better? By the end of, I think, week 1.5 or week 2 of build season, we finished the design of an alpha robot. It was literally just a glorified Quackus RA3D robot, and then we took the competition robot that you see on screen now. That one took a little bit longer to complete, but we refined a lot of stuff and shifted a lot of weight around, just made it just a much better version of what we could do. As to new capabilities for this season, we introduced more 3D printing. I purchased a Bamboo X1C for myself and really started to learn how to print with polycarbonate and carbon fiber materials out of that. So we've been able to create some really cool joints as some stuff on our climbing. We have like a little reaction bar with 2 joints that kind of braces a cross piece and everything. So, and some awesome 3D printed pulleys. But, you know, at this point in the season, how we're just trying to get better is, you know, this past weekend, our software students and the drive team, they were just down in our practice area, just trying to refine autos and whatnot. So that before we were barely hitting a 4-piece auto, and now we have a 4-piece that's hitting in about 10 seconds. Just as awesome. As much drive practice as you can. Where Brando and I are super fortunate in the New England area, where there's a whole bunch of practice fields for teams to be able to go to. So I know Brando and you guys have a nice new facility, is what I've heard. So new
to us,
yeah. Yeah, the 190 practice field at WPI, and there's some other stuff down in Connecticut, up here in New Hampshire as well, in Maine. If you have stuff in that area, oh my God, take advantage of it every second that you can, because you know you might only have like a little tiny section at wherever you're meeting. We can only set up like a half field at our shop, and we have to take it down every day. But where we're in a short distance away from 3467 and 6324's practice space over in Salem, New Hampshire, they have a full field, and I think we're going to be there again tomorrow night, and we're just going to be practicing refining autos, doing full court drive practice, and just practice. Be the best well-driven robot that you can be, in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thanks, Connor. Well, before we go ahead and wrap up the show, we'll go ahead and bring Tyler back on to draw for that giveaway from the Thrifty Bot.
Yeah, once again, $50 gift card going to the thriftybot.com. So thanks again to the Thrifty Bot, and also to our friends at 1720 earlier for the Bad Hawks as well, too. The keyword was very thrifty. Let's go ahead and draw for that winner. If you do win, make sure you go to firstupdatesnow.com/winner, and it's going to be Big JJ. Congratulations, Big JJ. Once again, go to firstupdatesnow.com/winner, fill in your information, and we'll get the Thrifty Bot to send that out to you. And thanks again to our giveaways. Lots more giveaways for future shows, both on here and the FRC Top 25. So if you tune in live, you get a chance to win some pretty sweet swag.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to FRC Roundup. Special thanks to all those who clicked that subscribe button or stuff to help fund by becoming a fund member or supporter by clicking the join button. Your support really helps us continue to make great content. Don't forget, you can watch FRC Roundup archived at youtube.com/first updates now and watch live Mondays during the competition season. Thank you to Brando, our guest, for coming on, and on behalf of our producer Tyler Olds, my co-host Connor, and all fun correspondents, I'm Nick Jr., and thanks for watching. Good luck to all teams in Week 5 of competition this weekend, and big thanks to our moderators in chat as well. See you next time, same day, same time, where we take a look at what is going on with First Robotics on FRC Roundup. Thanks, everyone.
This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you, and also in partnership with the following. AndyMark is your one-stop shop for all your robotics competition needs. Celebrating 20 years of quality robotics parts and superior service, AndyMark employees have over 200 years of first-team experience. From mechanical and electrical products to tools and hardware, head on over to andymark.com for high-quality and affordable solutions.